Right, we back again. The Isis Thesis by Judy K. King, a study decoding 870 ancient Egyptian signs. This is chapter 2. Chapter 2, The Dead Travel. Is there any scientific evidence for the Egyptian path to eternity? As always, get a glimpse of this page, but I'm going to put this down so I can read. The afterlife happens in the dark netherworld of the Duat, and the deceased states, I ascend to the sky, and the earth remains behind. Scholars agree that the Duat was not fixed in the netherworld, but also included celestial regions. They describe it as a dark, unseen place beyond the earth and in the sky, and some have compared it to a hell. In Egyptian grammar, Sir Alan Gardiner states that the word for netherworld was originally the place of the morning twilight known as the Duat. The individual ideograms in the hieroglyphs for Duat mean star and house. In light of the fact that the deceased is no longer living human matter, but a decomposition of primary elements of human matter, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, the Duat must represent a quantum phenomenon where these elements exist and are reassembled. However, the Egyptians claim that what is above is like what is below, implies that we can review the Egyptian advice to the deceased from a macrocosmic perspective and have it still be applicable on the quantum level. So let's first review Egyptian texts from the perspective of our familiar space-time universe. The Egyptian path to the stars begins with the deceased traveling to the northern polar region of Earth, guided by the unwearying stars of the pole stars. Here a great stairway exists, where the sun god Ra waits for his crew of 8 to ferry the deceased through the double doors of the Duat. The deceased is urged to go upon the great west side of the sky and go down upon the great east side of the earth with the gods in the suite of Osiris and the sun god Ra. Orion and Sirius are the imperishable stars. In the general direction, the deceased travels in the west to east against the background of the Milky Way or street stars. These directions prompt one to ask 3 questions. Where is the Duat? Why go to the northern polar region? What is the Great Stairway? Where is the Duat? If we take the Egyptian advice and travel into space to view the great west of the sky and the great east side of the earth, we could look down the earth's axis of rotation from the North Pole and see the sun on the western horizon of the sky and the dark side of the earth's magnetosphere on the eastern. According to the text, after going northward to the pole, the deceased merges with the sun god and travels into the dark Duat in a west to east direction. From our perspective, in outer space, we would observe the earth rotating counterclockwise, dragging its electromagnetic field and space behind it into a vortex. Thus, the textual advice to go down on the east side of the earth may indicate a movement in the Earth's magnetosphere that stretches into the darkness due to the powerful solar wind. Our new science of space physics is only 35 years old, yet Egyptian textual references to crossing the waterway of the sky window, the lake, the sea, navigating the winding waterway, and being towed over the district of waters with ropes of iron point to the actual dynamics of energy structures 21st century researchers are currently investigating in our magnetosphere, the invisible barrier that protects us from the solar wind. In light of these similarities, it seems reasonably to propose the Earth's magnetosphere as our real-world model for the duat, and the magnetopause of the winding waterway or districts of water that the dead sun god travels with his crew to the shrine of Osiris, god of the duat. To explore their possibilities, let's examine the structure of the Earth's magnetosphere. The vortex structure of the Earth's magnetosphere. The Earth's plasma barrier or magnetosphere is a vortex of whirling plasma due to the whirlwind force, a place that could easily be called the chambers of the sky ruled by the chaos god. The following brief review of the structure and processes in this vortex is essential for understanding the Egyptian direction to the stars. Because of the solar wind's ramming power, its forces the Earth's magnetic field into a cavity around our planet known as the magnetosphere, generated by the Earth's iron core. The magnetosphere stretches into long-tailed tubes 200 to 220 Earth radii from Earth, almost 870,000 miles into space. The plasma and magnetic fields of the sun and the Earth interact as if they were frozen together. They form distinct regions separated by a thin boundary called the magnetopause, as depicted in figure 2.1. Outside the magnetosphere is a layer of turbulent plasma called the magnetosheath. Inside the magnetosphere, the plasma rotates with the Earth because the Earth's magnetic field lines are frozen into the ionospheric plasma. James Dungy's concept of the open magnetosphere defines the breakdown of frozen inflow leading to magnetic reconnection of a neutral point where the magnetic field is zero. At this point, the magnetic fields have a opposite direction, and Dungy proposed that the plasma on both sides could reconnect to different field lines. This means that the sun's interplanetary field lines and plasma on it splices into the Earth's magnetic field lines of plasma at neutral points. Dungy identified 4 neutral points of steady or forced magnetic reconnection in the magnetic sphere. When the sun's interplanetary magnetic field is northward or not shocked by the solar wind, reconnection occurs behind each cusp. When the sun's interplanetary magnetic field is southward or shocked, reconnection occurs in the subsolar region and the magnetotail. Okay. In 2001, Space Physics reported that the first in situ direction of Equator S and geotail spacecrafts of oppositely directed jets of plasma coming from a reconnection site at the Earth's dayside magnetopause. This observational confirmation of bidirectional jets under southward IMF is evidence for reconnection theory. Alright, and this is, come on man, let's get this focus together, bro. Get that focus together, man. I'm getting there myself, bro. I'm getting there myself. Okay, that's what we looking at. And let me give you that picture of that magnetosphere. Okay, what a whole lot. Okay. Alright, it's important. Okay, and let's get a little glimpse of that page. Go on, baby. Go on, get your little look. I know it's a little raggedy, but this is all you got right now. And once again, get a picture of what the ancients had as far as that. Talking about the magnetic sphere or the iron ropes around the earth. Get a look at this picture too. You know, what we do currently. This is how we two-dimensional graph of our magnetopause. Okay, back to it, bro. In support of the Earth's magnetosphere as a model for the duat and the similarities between our modern two-dimensional drawings of the Earth magnetosphere and the earliest Egyptian conceptions of the duat structure in the papyrus of Nu Ayats, or regions presided over by a god made of the earliest conception of the Egyptian netherworld. Figure 2.2 shows 3 of the Ayats from Budge's illustration in the Egyptian heaven and hell from his papyrus. As you can see, the Ayats look roughly similar to the drawing of the Earth's magnetosphere in figure 2.1. On the left, the Ayat was the Amehet, which presided over the Sekher-at and a curse for the dead. This is also the god Sakir or Amduat, Hour 5, who presides over the domain of Osiris. In the middle of Ayat, the 8th, was Ha-Ha-Tep, a region containing roaring torrents of water and ruled by Kwa-Ha-Hatep. Ayat, the 8th, was Uat-Int-Mu, and its deity was the hippopotamus god called Hept-Re-F. One can easily see that the two-dimensional shape of the Earth's magnetosphere is similar to the earliest Egyptian drawings of the duat, the realm of Osiris. In figure 2.1, the magnetic field lines of the Earth and the Sun form a network of lines. As the Sun's magnetosphere lines stretch across the space and time, so do the Earth's on a smaller scale. One could easily use the metaphor of a net to describe the Earth's magnetosphere, and the Egyptians do. The title of Thoth, great god, is Het Abit, has the hieroglyph meaning house of net, and Thoth is presented in the duat as the sun god journeys through it. Also in a prayer, the deceased request passes through the net for helpless fiends and the abominable fiends of the earth, which is described as having a frame which reached unto heaven and weighted parts and rested upon the earth. Again, the description suggested the Earth's magnetosphere with its iron cores, weighted parts, and magnetic field lines, frame reaching to heavens, including the Van Allen belts, where trapped charged particles spiral, bounce, and drift in Earth's magnetic field lines. It may be that the helpless fiends represent the helpless particles caught in the Earth's hot Allen belts for thermochemical reactions in our magnetosphere. The detested existed in the duat and was also called the fish trap of Ra, having iron floats in the sky and iron weights on Earth. So we could say that the fish traps or nets represent the magnetic field lines of our magnetosphere, and its weighted parts represent the Earth's molten metallic iron core. Current geological dynamo theories propose that the convection of molten iron in the Earth's outer core and its rotation create electrical currents which generate the Earth's magnetic field. The important point is that the Egyptians' idea of the net and the fish trap of Ra suggests the following possible modern science parallel.